Todd adjusted the rearview mirror, eyes meeting the anxious gaze of his wife, Maggie. Behind them, 12-year-old Ashley hummed to her headphones, oblivious to the tension. They were a family in transition, seeking solace in the rented summer home overlooking the vast, steel-gray expanse of Lake Arrowhead. The house, a rambling Victorian mansion with a wraparound porch and a widow's walk, stood isolated, shrouded in an unsettling silence. Lake Arrowhead had been Maggie's idea, a desperate attempt to mend the fractures in their family portrait after Todd's recent job loss and Ashley's growing sullenness. But as Todd steered the car up the long, winding driveway, a shiver snaked down his spine. The house, despite its grandeur, exuded an almost palpable aura of melancholy, of secrets buried deep within its time-worn walls. The realtor, a chirpy woman with a too-wide smile, had assured them it was the perfect summer getaway. But as Todd unloaded their luggage, the silence of the lake house pressed in on him, broken only by the mournful cry of a loon in the distance. The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of mildew and something else, something vaguely unsettling that he couldn't quite place. Stepping inside, Todd was greeted by a cavernous living room, its shadows deepening as the sun began its descent. Dust motes danced in the faint slivers of light that pierced through the heavy drapes. He could almost hear the echoes of laughter, the murmur of conversations long past, and yet there was an underlying current of something else, something cold and unnerving. The house held its breath, waiting. The first few days at Lake Arrowhead were dominated by an unsettling quiet. Ashley, usually glued to her phone, seemed captivated by the lake, spending hours lost in her own world at the end of the old wooden dock. Maggie, however, grew increasingly withdrawn, her gaze distant, her smile strained. Todd couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being watched, scrutinized by unseen eyes. One evening, while exploring the dusty attic, Ashley stumbled upon a child's diary, its pages brittle with age. The faded ink spoke of a young girl, Emily, who had once lived in the house. Her words painted a picture of a lonely existence, confined to her room by an unknown illness. As Ashley delved deeper into Emily's world, she became convinced that the girl's spirit still lingered within the house. Todd dismissed it as an overactive imagination, but Maggie seemed strangely affected by the diary. She began complaining of vivid dreams, unsettling visions of a young girl with sad eyes and a frail hand reaching out from the darkness. The atmosphere in the house grew heavy with unspoken fear. The silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It was expectant, as if something was about to break. Then one morning, Ashley woke up to find a single white daisy on her bedside table. There was no explanation, no sign of forced entry. The daisy, vibrant and alive against the dark wood, seemed to pulsate with an energy that sent chills down her spine. Fear gave way to a morbid curiosity. Ashley felt strangely drawn to the mystery of Emily, compelled to uncover the truth hidden within the walls of the old house. As the days grew shorter, Ashley's fascination with Emily intensified. She spent hours in the attic room, poring over the diary, trying to decipher the cryptic entries. She felt an inexplicable connection to the long-dead girl, a sense of shared loneliness and longing. The line between reality and imagination began to blur. Meanwhile, a creeping unease settled over Todd and Maggie. Both were plagued by a persistent fatigue, a bone-deep exhaustion that sleep couldn't alleviate. Maggie's once vibrant features seemed to drain away, replaced by a gaunt pallor. Dark circles formed under her eyes, and her once lustrous hair lost its shine, becoming brittle and lifeless. Todd, witnessing his wife's rapid decline, was consumed by a sense of helplessness. Doctors' visits proved fruitless, their tests revealing nothing conclusive. The medical professionals whispered about psychosomatic illnesses, about the need for stress management, but Todd felt a growing certainty that something more sinister was at play. One evening, as Maggie lay listless on the couch, her breath shallow and raspy, Todd noticed a faint white glow emanating from the attic room. It pulsed with an eerie rhythm, casting flickering shadows on the walls. Panic surged through him, cold and sharp. His gaze darted to Ashley, who sat by the window, seemingly oblivious to his fear, her eyes fixed on the attic door. He knew then, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that something was terribly wrong. Fear morphed into a desperate need to act. Todd, ignoring the gnawing anxiety in his gut, decided to consult the town's oldest resident, a reclusive woman rumored to possess an uncanny knowledge of the town's history. Her house, nestled deep in the woods on the outskirts of town, was shrouded in an unsettling silence, much like the lake house itself. The old woman, her face a roadmap of wrinkles and time, listened intently to Todd's frantic account, her milky eyes never leaving his. When he was finished, she spoke, her voice a dry rasp. The lake, it remembers. It takes and it gives. A life for a life, a soul for a soul. Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken truths. The drive back to the lake house was a blur. Todd's mind raced, trying to piece together the fragments of information, the whispers of the town, the old woman's cryptic pronouncements. He thought of Emily, the sick girl trapped within the confines of the house, and a chilling realization washed over him. What if Ashley, in her innocent fascination, had somehow brokered a deal with a force she didn't understand? As he pulled up the driveway, the sight that greeted him sent a fresh wave of terror crashing over him. The house was ablaze with light, every window glowing with an unnatural intensity. The front door stood ajar, creaking ominously in the wind. He could hear Ashley's laughter echoing from within, but it was different now, laced with an unsettling undercurrent that made his blood run cold. It was the laughter of someone, or something, no longer entirely human. Todd burst through the front door, his heart pounding against his ribs. The house was silent now, the laughter gone, replaced by an oppressive stillness. He called out for Ashley and Maggie, his voice echoing through the empty rooms. As he climbed the stairs, each step heavy with dread, he noticed a single white daisy lying on each step, forming a macabre trail leading to the attic room. He found them in the attic, bathed in an ethereal white light that seemed to emanate from Ashley. She was cradling Maggie in her arms, her eyes glowing with an unnatural intensity. Maggie, her face now flushed with color, her breathing steady, looked up at Todd and smiled. It was a smile of pure peace, of serenity he hadn't seen in weeks. "She's better now," Ashley whispered, her voice strangely devoid of emotion. Emily helped her. "She's free now." The light began to fade, and Ashley slumped against her mother, her eyes returning to their normal color, but a shadow of something ancient and unknowable lingered in their depths. Maggie sat up, her hand reaching for Todd's. Her touch, once familiar and comforting, now sent a chill down his spine. Her eyes, once filled with love and warmth, now held a distant, unsettling gleam. The house was silent, the silence of a bargain struck, of a debt paid in full. As Todd looked from his wife to his daughter, a single horrifying question echoed through his mind. At what cost their newfound peace? The answer, he knew, lay buried somewhere in the depths of his daughter's eerie, knowing smile, a chilling secret that would forever haunt the depths of Lake Arrowhead. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to Freddy K Stories to catch the next nightmare come true.